Öncelikle herkese merhaba, hoş geldiniz. Bizim session'ımızı İngilizce olarak devam edeceğiz. Öncelikle hepinize bu session'a katıldığınız için teşekkür ederim. Önce Türkçe başlayıp daha sonrasında session'ımıza İngilizce olarak devam edeceğiz. Bugün aramızda çok değerli 3 tane katılımcımız var ve ne konuşacağız bugün? Artificial Intelligence'ın finance ayağına ne gibi etkiler yaptığı konusunu masaya yatırmak istiyoruz ve çeşitli sorularımla katılımcılarımızdan bizi bu konuda aydınlatmalarını isteyeceğim. First of all, thanks to participate our sessions, Paula, Aziz and Elif. First, I would like to start my speech on artificial intelligence normally has a significantly impact in various sectors, including finance, by enhancing an efficiency, accuracy and the decision-making capabilities. There are many applications in a finance AI side, algorithmic trading and the risk management, how the risk management is done by an AI models, and the portfolio management is a core finance subject, and the customer service and the personalization, this is a very important things, and the credit scoring and underwriting, and also the fraud detections, AI models detect the prudential activities. This is very important things for the banking industry, and the regulatory compliance and the quantitative analysis part is another one. Now I would like to right now give the speeches to Aziz. Aziz, there are new technologies and the digital transformations. Since COVID-19, we are living a big digital transformations. Can you please explain us AI finance applications in the Turkey scope? Can you give us more example about AI applications in the Turkey?
Sure, thank you for. Now it's coming. Test. Can you hear me? No. Now it's working. Thank you, Serkan, by the way. As you mentioned, in finance ecosystem, it's always looking for better. I mean, by technology and use cases and products. And after 2000s, after global crisis, it speeded up because there were competition. We saw fintechs in the market, and they're coming very fast and very efficient, better engagements, better experiences, and then all the finance ecosystem tried to speed up and catch up with them. It speeded up the revolution and transformation. And we were talking about new technologies like first apps. Now we said that finance in our pockets, and then we started to talk about RPS, robotic process automation, in our backends. We try to make everything faster and better. And with COVID, we tried to work remote, and it was very difficult for banks because there is data security and cyber security risks. So we tried to catch up and understand the difficulties and come up with new solutions around it. And now we started to talk about AI. Maybe it can be surprising for you, but banks are using AI for a long time, as you mentioned. I mean, we were using AI for whenever you apply for credits from a bank, the scoring systems are working by using AI with fraud detections, with AML, anti-money laundering, with KYC processes, know your customer processes. We were using AI, but we were using AI only for our backends. You weren't touching it. The customers, users are not touching it. But with generative AI, Gen AI, everything is different. 2 years ago, we were talking about metaverse in this panels. I'm still I believe in metaverse. It's a great idea, and it will come. But every technology has a maturity, and some takes too long time, some very fast. To measure it, we can say that for a new technology, there are some criteria that we can understand if it will be quick or not. These corners, these pillars it has to solve something. It has to be useful. There should be a problem and it should solve it, or it should make something better. The second thing is, even though the first corner is all right, the second thing, it has to be easy to use. If it's difficult to understand, if it depends on like hardware or something, for example, like motion sicknesses in our glasses. If it is not easy, it takes time to get better. And it has to be reliable and accessible. in some technologies, these corners takes time, like metaverse or blockchain. But in some technologies, it's very quick. For example, let's make a test, okay, for metaverse. If I ask how many of you connected your crypto wallets to a Web3 browser or a metaverse platform and make a transaction in that platforms and to experience end-to-end solution, how many of you? Almost none. One, great. But let's ask about AI. Not AI, generative AI. Solutions like ChatGPT or Gemini or Bard, formerly. Is there anyone who didn't experience it with their homeworks, with papers, or for anything? Anyone who didn't experience it? None. This is what I'm talking about. It gives us, for a bank, the products earlier were inside out. We were developing something inside and we were serving it to customers. But now, there is a demand from you because you already experienced the technology. You know the limits. You know what can do with it for your daily life, for your personal life. You can create your own wealth manager. You can create your own financial advisor, or for anything, I mean, for homeworks and everything, like endless. So whenever you experience it, we have to adapt it. Like, I'm not a banker anymore. I'm working for an initiative of Denizbank, but we're trying to produce technologies and models for the bank. So in this perspective, I have to say that banks has to adapt it, and we're working on it. Previously, when we were talking about AI, the technical guys were talking about AI because we were talking about machine learning, deep learning technologies and the models, how the data scientist teams can come up with models that to make business better. But mainly it was a technical thing. But for the last year, we're not talking about technically around AI, we're talking about business on it. And business teams are involved. For example, in Denizbank, in our bank, we have a team of departments working on AI, generative AI, and we are trying to discover what we can do around it. And there are business teams inside, NeoHub is inside, data scientists are inside, Intertex is inside, cybersecurity, which is very important, it's inside, because we are a bank and we have boundaries, we have regulations, there isn't like huge importance on data security. We cannot send any data of yours to cloud services. So it's the boundary for using the technology, and we're trying to find workarounds around it. We're trying to find filtering models before sending the data to LLM models, cloud. We are trying to create our own local language, large language models that we can create small language models, let's say, in our servers. So these are all taking time, like considering the other technologies, it's faster. And now business is inside because you are inside, we are inside because we know it. This is different. Why I'm mentioning about it? Because we saw so many technologies. We play with this Google like this VR glasses. We play with other technologies. There are so many fancy things that I believe their time will come. But with generative AI, it already did. It's in our daily lives. So this is something that in finance market, in finance ecosystem, not only banks, but all these fintechs and all the ecosystem has to consider, and they are already considering. They are trying to change things, how it works. And for me, this is not, I'm talking right now as a user, not a banker employee. For me, the very first things that we will face is personalization. For example, let's say, whenever I open my banking app, let's say I'm using it once in a month to just pay my kids' school payments and sending money to my mother, and that's all. And let's say for you are a wealthy woman and trading every day, I don't know, doing fancy things with finance solutions, but we are still using the same app. The UI is the same. But we already have our personal managers in UI, in AI, in our browser. But whenever we open not only bank but any financial solutions, it's all the same UI, it's all the same solutions, it's all the same services. I think that has to be changed. as a user again. I'm not promising it because I don't have the authority to talk about it. But as a user, it has to change, and I believe it's coming.
Okay, thank you. You corrected the speeches in the morning session in the Red's room. Was on the board. It is saying that AI will not replace you. A person who's using an AI will replace you. This is the business model, right? The AI is not a new concept. Normally, since the 1950s, we live in AI. And I would like to give the speeches to Elif. Elif, I have two questions. And what are the new technology trends in banking industry? And can you please elaborate your answers? What is the possible effects of an AI in a banking industry? Can you please elaborate in the European perspective?
Sure. First of all, thank you for your invitation. It's great to be here. I see it's really vivid. There are a lot of AI engineering students, a lot of people who are interested in AI and the crossroads with fintech. So it's a great organization. Coming back to your question, actually, I can only second Aziz Bey because when it comes to the trends in banking, we can talk about AI, right? So AI is the biggest trend in banking. Why? Because AI actually is facilitating and supplementing all the other trends in banking, namely hyper-personalization and also the customization of services. So as Aziz Bey said, actually, and also to complement his words, we are not talking about generalist banks anymore. So when we are talking about banks, we cannot talk about the banks that are doing everything, and we don't need these banks anymore. We have banking as a service providers, we have neobanks, we have fintechs, so meaning that all banks that are doing something have to do what they are good at and have to offboard what they are not good at. And then this would mean that we would have to focus more on niche services, right? So when we are talking about niche services and the services that we are good at, then we need to actually target the customer and profile the customer and not just look at them as persona A, B, C, but as Aziz, Paula, Elif, and really target what their needs are and carve a strategy that is customized for them. That could be an investment strategy, that could be a saving strategy, that could be a payment strategy, any kind of strategy, but that should also fit with their goals and the personal finance, health related motivations that they might not even know that they have. So we, as a bank or as a financial institution, we have the obligation to understand the customer better than the customer using a lot of data. So AI helps with that. AI helps us like reading all the data sets, making sense of all the data that we have and putting that into a streamlined solution and making sense of it. And other than that, especially European banks, but I think Turkish banks have this issue as well, are collecting a lot of data. But at the end of the day, they don't know what to do with it. So they have a lot of innovation hubs, they have a lot of entrepreneurship centers. They sit around and actually gold mine, looking at all this data that consists of customer behavior. What do they do? Where do they go? Where do they spend money? Where do they spend their time at? And how long do they spend time, right? So with all this data, using all this data, you can create like combined solutions, really niche and personalized solutions, and address the customer. So AI is good for that, and that's why AI is the biggest trend that is actually transforming the sector for years, as you said, and will continue disrupting the sector for the years to come, because we are just experiencing the first wave, meaning we are experimenting, we are seeing the solutions, but these are not the end results. We are just exploring it. We are just excited about it, but the real solutions, the real use cases will come in time, and we will be actually seeing a lot more exciting solutions in the future. So this is of course the customer side, and this also matches with the bank's customer experience improvement trend. So banks have the obligation to improve the customer experience. As Aziz Bey said, customers have different expectations. Especially when I look around, I see a lot of young customers here, and they have different needs, right? They have different needs than our generations and the generations before us. So as banks, we have the obligation to really address these needs and improve their customer experience, like address them momentarily when they need us, so we cannot keep them on the hotline or at the bank branch making them wait for hours. They don't have the patience for that. If the app that you serve to your customers gets broken or is not serving for a couple of seconds, the customer gets frustrated. So with AI, we can actually detect these kind of inefficiencies and improve them in a systematic way. Other than that, of course, as you mentioned, AI also has a lot of great back office functions. So it can actually help improve fraud detection and prevent fraud. Other than that, cybersecurity, document reading, what else? Risk scoring, credit scoring, risk decision making, automate a lot of decision makings and basically decrease human error. This is what AI is good at. Also reading a lot of boring documents that you, for instance, have to look through during the KYC process, right? So if you are trying to onboard a new customer, you need to read their passports and documents, which consists of a lot of data points. And especially if you have foreign customers and if you're reading documents that are not issued at your native country, you have to be more careful. And these things were actually done by agents before. Now we can do it with AI. We can automate this document reading tasks. And also, of course, just like consumers, banks are also using AI to improve content, to improve search engine or optimization, to get new customers, and also for HR and onboarding related decisions.
Thank you. You explain us more about the implementations of an AI in our daily life. It is must, and we're going to use AI. AI is a new business model, as Aziz and you said. And I would like to turn to Paula. Paula, I know you are working in blockchain and crypto, the field since years. And currently, we're going to use a more blockchain, AI applications, cryptos, and the future of the finance, and classical finance versus a decentralized finance. Can you please elaborate me about the blockchain and AI applications?
Absolutely. So first, I also want to start with that it's a great pleasure being here. I'm so happy that I have the opportunity to come back to my university. I'm a graduate of international finance, and I had the pleasure also to be assistant alongside Dr. Serkan Yeşilyurt in the Financial Research Center. So I wanted to address all the students, the current students and the ones that are considering to study at Bahçeşehir, and share my personal experience. I would say that my education here is probably 90% of the reason of my career. I could never wish to change my university. It was an incredible experience and I learned so much. So I definitely recommend Bahçeşehir, and it's a very big pride for me to be here today with you. So now coming back to the question, I think blockchain has been in the financial space now for many years. Maybe in the last few years it became more of a trendy word, I would say, coming alongside with the crypto craze. But I remember my first endeavor in blockchain was around 2018. After I graduated here and worked, I moved to Dubai. And the startup scene in Dubai is really vivid. There is a lot of investment in the whole GCC region, actually, into any type of new technologies. So back in the day, I was working on the buy side in a bank, and I kept on attending that type of events. And the time blockchain for institutional users just started becoming a big topic, and at the time the focus was more on trade finance. And one of the first applications, I believe, were exactly on automating those types of letters of credits, etc. Even WeWork, like my first startup, was in the Islamic finance industry. We were trying to automate the sukuk issuances. Sukuk is an Islamic bond. And at the time, that was making a lot of sense, because essentially all Islamic finance is based on contracts, and automating that by smart contracts makes even more sense. So currently, a lot of banks globally are utilizing blockchain, whether we understand it or no. For example, Bank of America is using the technology of Paxos for settling all the equity trades. So I would maybe here split the question into two, into how blockchain already changed existing applications, just as I gave the example of trade finance or also equity settlement. There are multiple other instances, like, for example, cross-border payments. But I think for me the more interesting part is how Web3 and blockchain completely revolutionizes the industry and applications that haven't been existing before. For me, one of the most interesting aspects, I would say, of blockchain is decentralized finance. And currently, today, we are able to process transactions so fast, instantly, and very cheap. So I'm just gonna give example maybe of tokenizing funds or tokenizing any type of assets. So if we want today to purchase, let's say a fund, we need to open an account with a broker, we need to go through a lengthy KYC process, and we need to pay fees for data. So all of this will probably take around 1 month. You will go through multiple KYC sections, and eventually then you might be able to buy the fund. While with tokenized assets, you can do that instantly. Same goes for payments, actually. Now, if I just want to transfer, it doesn't matter the amount, but let's give the example, a small amount of, let's say, $100. Probably, depending on if it's an international transfer, depending from where to where you're transferring it, it can take up to 3 business days. And essentially, you're paying fees on your bank side, then you're paying intermediary bank charges, and then on the other end, also the receiver is paying their own bank charges. So the fees just accumulate. And what blockchain allows us is I can just send now instantaneously to Elif, for example, $100, and depending on the network, of course, pay some very minimal charge. I can pay maybe something like $1 for the whole transaction. So I really find decentralized finance very empowering, especially for the ones that are not so included in the financial system. And this is a very old concept, but this is how exactly it works in practice. So it gives the opportunity to everyone to transfer money easily, to participate, to invest, basically be more included into the financial system.
Oh, thank you for the blockchains, and you give us more information and we refresh our mind about it. Thanks a lot. Now I'm gonna give the pages to Aziz again. Aziz, we are talking about the trend in finance, trend in economies. Can you please elaborate more about the banking adaptations in an artificial intelligence? We are working for NeoHub, and could you please explain us the new trends in AI and also the banking adaptations of artificial intelligence?
Sure, thank you, Serkan. Maybe I should start with, maybe I have been already, I should have already done it in the first round, but I'm working for a company called NeoHub. NeoHub is a subsidiary of Denizbank. And why we have a company called NeoHub is actually the purpose is having more flexible, more on business side, for coming up with new businesses, new business models, play with technology easily, and not belong to a banking regulator party. These give us the flexibility to work with other parties more easily. And we believe in open innovation. We want to work with fintechs. We want to work with startups. And my title is Chief Innovation and Ecosystem Officer. So the part of his innovation can be internal innovation, or it can be open innovation. So we have working with startups for a long time. We have a place called Deniz Aquarium. It's a physical space. We have a co-working space. There are many startups. We have an acceleration program. We have blockchain lab. We have emerging tech hub. And we invest on them. We have a fund called Deniz Ventures. And we have a product team. And we try to collaborate all of these guys together to come up with something new. So we are working with many AI startups as well. The purpose on that is we have a huge data scientist team already in the bank. They are modeling things, they are using data and try to optimize these P&L ratios. They are trying to optimize the segments and everything. But recently we started to call it traditional AI because it's traditional. I mean, it's there for 10 years, more than 10 years, and we're using it effectively. But new things are just coming, and many of them are not coming from the bank, they're coming from outside. So we want to participate, we want to engage with them. And beginning with that, there are also some studies inside. For example, we have an app for agriculture, for farmers. It's called Denizden Toprağa. The farmers can use this app to see if it's gonna rain on their farm because they can point their farm and they can see the weather, they can see the grants, the fees, the times, and everything related with the prices of the products, everything related with farming. And there were an area inside that it was called Ask an Engineer. There were a real engineer at the backside recently, but we replaced it with AI. It's more efficient. The knowledge is better. Any question, whatever it is, has an answer from AI side. So it's more effective. This is a very simple benefit of AI for our usage, for example. And banks have products for us, for you, for everyone, but it's a company. It has their own requirements. For example, we work with procedures. There's so many procedures. There's so many regulations. There's so many rules, and following them is not easy. So we're working on an engine. We teach them with all these documents from BRSRI, Capital Board of Markets, regulations, and everything. And the purpose is anybody in the branch or in the headquarters can ask the regulation and what should I do to it, and get an answer back immediately. This is one of the cases that you use internally. Teaching, education for human resources. This is the use case for no-brainers, I mean, because we need it. There's so many information inside and it's impossible to know everything, so you can ask some bots to understand it. And before coming to here, I checked some data. Obviously from AI, Gen AI, you know it, but my student friends will understand. I checked the references, it's correct, believe me. There are some numbers which is very surprising for me. It says 73% of customers expect financial institutions to use AI to personalize their experiences. We have branches because customers need face-to-face impressions, face-to-face of feeling and touching. This is the reason why we have branches. But now it says 73% is expecting AI in their experiences, their customer services. This is a change. This is a big change. So this is something that we need to focus on. And there are also, in the first round, I was mentioning that we need to adapt technology. We're creating new technologies to adapt the technology, which is the requirements. I mean, as I said, we cannot send data to cloud, which means that we cannot use generative AI as you are using as a corporate because of the restrictions. We cannot send in data. To adapt that, we are developing new technologies, new filters in between. So this is also some barrier, but on the other hand, an advantage or an opportunity for us, adaptation. There are also some financial solutions which we use internally, but it will be more detailed. I mean, I don't think that you will be interested in like very specific solutions, so I will not mention about it, but roughly, to sum up, we are trying to use AI for the last user requirements. We are trying to adapt it in the last products and services to make them better, make them more personal. But on the other hand, internally, we also try to use Gen AI to make our life more easy, more efficient. And in the beginning of the second round, you said that make a quotation from the first presentation. I was responsible for RPA implementation in the bank, and those times some friends were telling me that you are replacing us. What are you doing? Please don't do it. I'm serious, by the way. This is obvious because robotic process automation is doing something, replacing FTEs and working 24 hours in a day, and no human error. Now we are facing the same thing, and now we're working on prompt engineering. I mean, this is something we need to adapt as well. I mean, it's not the technology is changing, but the persona, but the employees are changing as well. It's not enough to have a Gen AI under your hand in the keyboard. It's not enough. For example, with Gen AI, I'm trying to find out a solution. I have to prompt 10 times, but in our team, in emerging tech team, they're doing it like 5 seconds in one prompt. This is something. This is a talent. This is something we have to focus on. Maybe in universities we have to focus on it. Thinking like, even though it's very easy to use Gen AI right now, but having the perfect efficiency on that, we should think in some manner, in some way to take the best. So prompt engineering could be a future job. For example, in my team, we need a prompt engineer because we cannot use it effectively. We cannot understand if it's hallucinating or not. We need to check the reference because we don't sure the prompt is good enough to take the correct data. As you all imagine that in some cases in universities there were some frauds because, like not fraud, what you call it, I don't remember in English right now, but like there is students are given reference, but the reference is not correct. It's just imagining. To take the better of it, you need to give better prompts. This is the thing that we need to adapt as well. I think it's enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The data is interesting. 75. You said 75, right? 72 or 75? 73%. Okay. In Elif, in the midnight, I got a call from one chatbot. It is saying like this. Okay, Serkan, someone is trying to transfer $100,000 from your account to another one. Are you Serkan? I got a kind of messages. One of the most important thing in a banking, and you mentioned in the first speech, is fraudulent activities, or NPL, right? Mitigating an NPL rate of the banks, and also mitigating the fraudulent activities. How AI will create an impact in this sector about the fraudulent activities? And also, is AI also creating some vulnerabilities? Can you elaborate them?
Definitely. So if you have a call in the middle of the night asking for your bank data, please call police immediately and turn off your phone. This is one thing. I think we learned as Turks very quickly, these police scams, the police that are calling you saying your account has been hacked and some terrorist organization is trying to get money from your account. And I know you're smiling and laughing right now, but a lot of professors, PhDs have fallen for these scams. So it is a real problem, and it's getting even worse by day, because the issue is, no matter what technology we develop and no matter what technology we use to prevent fraud, the fraudsters are using it against us to create even more enhanced fraud. And this is like a chicken egg problem. So who's using blockchain, who's using crypto, and who's using AI against us, right? So that's why actually AI is great for preventing fraud, for detecting fraud, but also there is another side of it, and that is education. So in order to ensure that our customers, our employees, or anyone around us, as an organization, I think not just financial institutions, but as a university, as any kind of organization that has employees, you have the obligation to educate your employees and your customers. Otherwise, you can actually really suffer from that, especially with the AI and the data sets that fraudsters are using. How would this impact you? So especially if you are a public person, like Paula, for instance, if you're speaking a lot, and I bet if I Google Paula, there will be a lot of videos and like podcasts, right, that you talk about. You talk about some expert topics. So what fraudsters do is to use this data and create like a voice clone that sounds exactly like Paula. And then they detect Paula's relatives and friends. And at the middle of the night, maybe, you don't have a bot, but Paula calls you. And as your former student, you get panicked because Paula is in Istanbul, she's stranded, she doesn't have a card, and she's asking for 3,000 euros. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, why would she need 3,000 euros in the middle of the night? And what is she doing here? But then you would panic because this is the point of it. They actually detect when you're asleep, when you are most vulnerable, when you are at your weakest, and basically everyone can fall into these scams. So in a nutshell, like AI is also making us vulnerable, our customers, our employees vulnerable to scams. How can we prevent it? As I said, all organizations have to improve like digital literacy first. So I know we are all very digital. We use e-government, so e-devlet in Turkey. We have lots of apps. We are all on Instagram, on TikTok. But that doesn't mean that we are digitally literate. That doesn't mean that we can trace the source of an information or data, or like can confirm the information. And this is especially important for elderly, for seniors who are a bit more gullible or a bit more naive and can fall into these traps really quickly because of these, chain WhatsApp messages or these voice messages, that come in a matter of panic. And let's admit that in Turkey we are always in a state of panic because there's always something happening, and you might be a victim to these things. So as a bank or as an institution, as a university, you have to first tell your students, tell your employees, tell your customers what these fraudsters are using. How are they targeting you? What data could they use, right? And then talk about how you can prevent them. How can the customers or the students identify an email from Bahçeşehir University or from Denizbank as opposed to an email that looks exactly like that is coming from Denizbank. And it is actually a big problem in Europe. We see with PayPal, with TransferWise, actually a lot of these scam emails are going around, like Germans, Brits are, falling into these frauds. And a lot of companies are using actually educational tools, video education, content education to train and educate their customers. I actually saw that TransferWise has a blog that is just addressing the fraud cases. So customers are talking about their fraud and scam cases, which is, I think, very educational, because if you see the real fraud case, then you can address and understand it better, and you can actually prevent yourself better. So these kind of use case management and use case educations are, I think, also complementary for banks and financial institutions. But there is more. So there should be panels and webinars. I mean, we have all the educational options in the world, digital and manual education that should be provided to everyone, all stakeholders that is around an organization. And that should actually prevent the scams and frauds. Another thing is also explaining the use of data and the importance of data. I know we are, especially in an innovative and digital country like Turkey, we are used to giving away our data way too soon. We have open Instagram profiles, we have open Twitter profiles, and that's cool because we want to expose ourselves, right? And this is how you get job opportunities, etc. But this is also how you make yourself vulnerable, because using this data, using all this complicated information, maybe a human cannot make sense, right? But AI can make sense and can profile you, can find your relatives, can find where you work, can find your goals, and maybe even your secret motivations and desires more than you. This can be used to target you. This can be used to target the customer from a marketing point of view, and again, making you vulnerable. That's why data education is also crucial and should be used. But I mean, if we flip the coin, of course, AI is excellent for fraud management, because back in the days, humans tried to make sense of data. So when you had payments and when you had irregular payments or something weird going on, there would be a human stepping in and saying, okay, this data is weird, let's flag this. And there would be a lot of back and forth and conversations and calling the customers. Now, AI can, of course, flag these fraudulent activities and risk situations way more quickly and way more efficiently. But as I said, we shouldn't just rely on AI to prevent fraud. We should also, supervise it and supplement it with education and training.
Oh, thank you. Normally, we insist people to increase their financial literacy more, but not enough. Digital financial literacy is must, okay.
Digital data literacy.
Data. We understood what data. Thanks, Elif. Paula, you are living in Middle East region since years, right?
Yes, in 8 years.
I would like to ask you questions about AI developments in the Gulf region. Can you please give us example from a Middle East region about the AI developments?
Yeah, definitely. There is a lot happening in AI in the region. I just want to quickly add something to what Elif said, by the way, that fraud had been already a massive issue with social media, and I think that AI just adds another layer on top of that. And probably one might argue that we make ourselves vulnerable to it. But again, as Elif mentioned, like social media is a platform where we can create opportunities for ourselves. So I'm a personal, I would say, a victim of something like that. There are a lot of fake profiles that they create of me, both on Twitter, even on LinkedIn, and they exactly try to get in touch with the people I know personally. And doesn't matter how much tech savvy some of them are, I constantly get those calls. So Paula, like they even do video calls. AI evolved so much that they can even clone your face. So definitely be very, very aware of that. And I feel that corporates need to do more work on the educational side. And even I think that's a startup idea, but I feel that there is very less effort done in that fraud area, especially into the AI sector. So I think that might be a big theme in the AI sphere. So now coming back to the GCC area and what's happening in AI, I think that the AI trend, especially in the UAE, starts back in the day. 2017, the first Minister of AI was appointed. So before the whole world even started to talk about that, to become again a big trend, UAE was already doing things in the works. And I'm thinking what most interesting highlights to share, because there's so much happening, but particularly in UAE, in Abu Dhabi, there was a lab, I think, of 25 scientists directly sponsored by the government. By the way, in the region, most of those initiatives are sponsored by the government, and they developed their deep learning language. It's called Falcon AI. I think you can check it online. And something interesting was during the LEAP conference, there is a LEAP conference in Saudi Arabia, which attracts talent from all around the world and experts. The biggest, it's all technology related. And this year, of course, the biggest topic was AI. But I was really fascinated by the things, again, that were directly sponsored by the government there. For me personally, as a user, like the most interesting experience were the humanoid bots. You probably had seen some videos that went viral. So there were two humanoids. One was Mohammed and Sarah. So Sarah was an English speaker and Mohammed was Arabic speaker. So you could in real time talk to them, and they would answer, and you could even see the prompts on the screen in the back of them. So for me, that was my closest experience with a robot that is looking very similar to a human. And then another big topic was AI in healthcare. There hospitals designed with AI learning algorithms with multiple applications. So I'm not a medical specialist, but the one that I understood and I saw the benefits of was AI recommendations for surgeries from distance. So even if the doctor is not directly there, there is a machine that is already trained, and just by what the doctor is saying from distance, the machine can perform the procedures. So I think that's a summary of the key things. But also there we have AI Summit, and there are a lot of incubation centers and AI-specific programs. So particularly if you're into the startup sphere, I would recommend you to check. UAE is already more developed, but now I feel that there is a big influx of companies coming to Saudi Arabia, especially in the technology sector. And something interesting, again, during the conference, I was speaking to government officials, and there is a particular program that makes it easier for Turkish business owners to open business there. So if you're into AI, if you're into the startup world, I definitely recommend you to check Saudi Arabia.
Thank you, Paula, for the Middle East perspective. Aziz, when I was a student at high school or middle school, so I'm not sure, adjective verbs. You know an adjective verbs? Red car, blue pen, something like this. For the sustainability and then an AI, we use this adjective verbs, sustainable words, sustainable finance, AI-based finance, something like this. Can you please elaborate more about artificial intelligence and the future of the banking industry, banking sector? What do you hope about the future of the banking sector?
To answer that, I should start with not only single one of business model or a technology is not the savior of the world or the future of the bank. I mean, we should use them all together. For example, you use a very important keyword with sustainability. Sustainability, I should start with it because it's very important. Not for banks, not for like financial ecosystem, for human beings. I mean, you using this planet. It's kind of late, but with the regulations and everything globally, it's now becoming our daily life. And one of the topics that we are also focusing on, and we made an investment, a startup called Erguvan, working on sustainability. This is very important to begin with. And with AI, I mean, there has to, this is my imagination, but like for future of the banks or financial ecosystem for like human beings, we need to collaborate with all these things together. Just only AI without technology, without nothing in the back, doesn't mean something. I'm not so sure. I mean, the data is the source, and how the data is coming. What is the tendency? How is the bias of it? And what we're gonna use it for? For making more profit or making the world better? Will we focus on sustainability or will we focus on something else? I mean, for future, my imaginary future is somewhere that everything is so easy as a user, friendly for the environment, and the purpose is not for profits anymore. I'm sharing the motivation as blockchains. I mean,
I also had one more questions in your speeches. In the future, what kind of banks that we will see in the near future?
Sorry?
Kind of bank,
Bank.
banking systems, banking operations, AI. How percent AI manage the banking sector? How percent?
That's a difficult question because this is something that we still argue inside. But let me check. Because like I made my homework and there were a number around new banks. Let me see if I can find it.
Bill Gates, I think Bill Gates said like this, okay, we need a banking operations, but not need to a banks. There was a wording like this, right? I think Bill Gates said.
The regulation perspective, the regulation landscape is changing. For example, now we're starting to talk about digital banks in Turkey. And fintechs are all like already banks. They're more flexible for regulation. They're more speedy. They're very fast. And they have the talents to come up very new things, very new products very rapidly. So like imagining the future and trying to figure out how it will like, it's not an easy question because it's not only depending on the banks, it's also depending on the customer requirements. This is why I was mentioning of personalization, because this is my demand as a user. I don't want to see the same UI with my father. If my bank keep on doing that, I will try to look for another. I'm not talking with the bank head, I'm talking with like a user. This is my future when I'm using a financial service. I want personalizations. I want my own assistant who knows me. I think this is the key. So who will provide it? I don't know. I mean, I don't think that nobody will know it right now. We will see who can adapt first, who like how the first adapted responses will be like, and where it will evolve. So this is why I'm saying that AI is not the only thing. For example, in the future, right now there are customers. I'm slightly one of them. I'm not thinking the bank's profit or my profit, and I'm also considering sustainable environment. For example, in the future, maybe I will ask for a financial solutions which is totally applying net zero. Maybe this will be my criteria. We don't know how the customer perspective will change, how the requirements will change. We're just imagining and trying to get ready. That's all.
Thank you. Elif, I would like to ask the same questions to you. You are working with more banks in Germany, in Turkey, as I know. Can you please draw pictures about the future of the banks? Can you draw a picture us?
Yeah, sure. I mean, actually, I agree with Aziz. So the future of like tomorrow's bank will look like tomorrow's customer, and we don't know how tomorrow's customer will look like or what they need. So it's hard to look into the crystal ball or read in a coffee cup so what they would need. But based on today's developments and based on today's needs, we can say that they would definitely need something more personal, more custom to them, and therefore banks will be more entrepreneurial. And actually that reverts me back to the conversation I had with Aziz before the panel started. He told me that he's not a banker originally, but he's an entrepreneur. But he's in banking now. And this is actually the profile of the bankers of today, right? We don't have these bankers that are coming from traditional banking industry. We have tech people, we have AI engineers that are in the room that will be in the banks of the future. Which means in the future we'll have less formal, less traditional bankers, meaning less traditional banks, because the management culture directly impacts the bank, and we'll have more entrepreneurial banks that is curated and directly addressing the needs of the customer. And they will be smaller, they will be more niche, but they will be more profitable because, as I mentioned, like during my first answer of the first question, they won't be doing all these unprofitable things just for the sake of doing it, just for saying we are a generalist bank, we do everything, we offer everything. You don't have to offer everything. You have to collaborate, you have to do what you're good at, and also, buy services from other service providers, which is a bit of a tough thing, I think, especially for Turkish banks, to admit that, you have to collaborate and buy service from other fintechs and startups. They want to do everything in-house, and otherwise they feel like they are not as innovative or as disruptive. But I think actually the innovative and the disruptive ones are working with fintechs and not developing but buying. So therefore, there's the economy, there's the chance to work with professionals who are only good at doing what they're doing. And therefore the banks of the future will be smaller, will be more entrepreneurial, and will be really carved to the needs of the customer, and will look like the customer, but will definitely offer personalized services, and will all know their customers as if they are next door neighbors, thanks to all the data they are processing and all the profiling.
You both underline the customer needs in the features, and we're going to more focus on the customer needs. Paula, these are not the same questions, but I would like to ask you that the future of the token economy. Normally, in the morning sessions, the main panel, one of the main panelists, made a presentations, and I saw a data about the GDP. Okay, GDP. AI generated somehow 60% or 70%. I don't remember right now. AI and also the decentralized finance, some things contributions not be reflected well with the GDP, I think. We use more Wikipedia, for example, but we can't represent the contribution of the Wikipedia on GDPs. And even we use more cryptos, right? And we right now in a new economy, this is general economy and the token economy, right? Could you please elaborate more about the future of the token economy and then AI, please?
Absolutely. I fully agree with what Elif earlier said, that the banks are transitioning. I'm not one of those believers that believe that traditional banks will disappear. Absolutely no. But they will evolve into something better, into more tech-savvy businesses. And even if we see the difference from a few years ago, banks were fighting so much crypto, and now most of the tech-savvy banks currently, they have their own wallets. Like I had seen even Guarantee Bank launched one. So it becomes more and more normalized to have crypto in the traditional ecosystem. So I completely believe that the banks would evolve. Like where exactly, I'm not sure. I don't believe that it will be everything 100% crypto, but also with the central banks. But also with the central banks working on their own stablecoin currencies, we're going to see what's going to happen. But definitely the banking of the future is very different and more personalized than the one that we currently have, or even the one that we had 5 years ago. It's very, very evolving. And me being part of the fintech sector, that's my personal observation and belief that Turkey will be one of the pioneers of that transition. Because I came to work with fintech companies here and came to the realization mention that most of the technology that is used by Citibank, by HSBC in Europe is actually developed within Turkey. And most of those wallets and crypto wallets applications, most of them are developed locally. So I think that here is a great ecosystem to be if you're into that business. And maybe an interesting trend I've been noticing more into the Web3 space particularly, if we combine AI together with decentralized not really finance, but more I would say of the Web3 industry and AI, the intersection point is something called DeepIn. Probably most of you know it, but for the ones that don't, it's basically the decentralized physical infrastructure. And this is, I believe personally, that will be the next big trend in crypto happening. With the AI, the need for computational power increases. And basically what DeepIn does is decentralizing that computational power. So there are many uses. One is data, but computational power, in my opinion, is very strong in terms of AI because the need is there, and that would reduce the cost. And also, again, it will just democratize the data. So me, Elif, everybody can share their computational data in a way. So I believe that will be a big and interesting trend. And I think a bit more numerical data. The market, there is not too much recent data, but in 2022, the market for cloud data was around 490 billion and is expected by the end of this year to be $720 billion. So it's a massive industry, and as I said, for me, the intersection between AI particularly and decentralization is very big.
Thank you. I would like to change the topics a little bit. Normally in the EU, European Union side, Elif, there are some regulations also. Can you please give us some explanations about the European Union AI Act's impact on a banking side? Can you please give us something about it?
I don't see the excitement when it comes to regulation. The energy goes down.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, but I won't be going too deep into regulation because I think we have extraordinary regulatory panels after this in the other stages, I think. But just to give you a recap, as you know, there's this EU AI Act. And the EU isn't a pioneer when it comes to innovation and banking. Like Paula said, when it comes to banking innovation, you have to look at Turkey, you have to look at Middle East, you have to look at US and UK. However, the EU is a pioneer in regulation. So they are experts in regulating technology and making a system out of it. And therefore, we have to really look closely at this regulation. However, this shouldn't be the guidebook for AI regulation, because this all lies down in the systematic approach of the EU. Like EU has a very reactive regulatory approach. So they regulate when they see a reaction, when they see a threat. For instance, when they saw that PayPal and the big tech companies were growing too fast, they started the open banking regulation just to create some European champions. The same with stablecoins. When they saw stablecoins growing too much, they started investing in digital euro and central bank digital currencies. And the same is now with the AI Act. They see OpenAI growing, so they want to invest in AI to basically be more controlled and have a more controlled growth of it. But what is important to understand is that this AI law will be the blueprint for all banking-related applications. Therefore, it has to grow together with AI applications. And the technology is at the first stages now. It will grow, monumentally, and it will change. So we have to enable that. And the AI law, I think, isn't giving this kind of opportunity, this kind of window for innovators right now. Of course, we have to monitor it. Of course, we have to supervise it. But I think we need like structures like an AI sandbox, like an European-wide AI sandbox to make it a bit more innovative and a bit more agile. Otherwise, technology will develop and there will be regulation, but then there will be constant lawmaking trying to catch up with the innovations of today.
Thank you, Elif. Last things, okay. Can you please give some recommendations? Only for two or three sentences, okay. We have many young friends in this class, in this room. If they want to be a leader of the future, what do you recommend them in the banking sector?
Well, they are doing the first things, right? They're here. when we were students, we would be out there, enjoying the sun and coffee and the beautiful atmosphere. So it's good that, despite the beautiful weather that is inviting you out, you're here listening. Other than that, of course, always, following the newest topics, the blogs, because everything is changing so fast. You cannot read these things on books. You have to connect with practitioners. You have to ask them questions, like connect with Paula, connect with Aziz Bey, and ask them questions about practice, about what's going on in their sector, in their country. That is one thing. Invest in education, so not just to certify and put on your CV, but invest in continuous education and always know what you're talking about. Meaning, of course, you're talking about AI, you're reading about it, but really understand it and really understand the impact it has on your lives. Like draw a career path and try to put AI in the middle of it. And this is how you'll find the crossroads of AI and marketing, AI and banking, and etc. And you'll be the leader of your sector, and we'll listen to your talks in the future.
Thank you, Paula. What do you want to say?
In terms of recommendation?
Yeah, recommendations to participants who want to be the leader in the digital banking sector.
Yeah, as a conference lover, I guess I would give similar advice to Elif. For me personally, until today, conferences are the best place where I learn tons of information that otherwise it's really difficult to combine in one place, right? Like you need to watch ton of YouTube videos, etc. It's the best place to just learn things face to face and connect with the people, right? So whatever you're interested in, don't be shy to reach out to people. That's something I think that really pushed me in my career, that I would always go and ask for more insights, I would ask to connect, and once the right time comes, you can reach out again to that person where you also have some value to contribute to them. And I have been, back in the day when I was a student, I was extremely active on LinkedIn, so I think that is very important to build your profile early on. So as early as possible, you build your LinkedIn. I think that would help you a lot. Don't overreach to people, so that's I think pro and cons. Back in the day, obviously, like I didn't really know how the positions are working. I was not so aware of the whole financial system. So, when I look sometimes at my messages 10 years ago in LinkedIn, I'm like reaching out to the governor of the central bank, checking if they're open positions. Don't do that. Do your research. But again, as early on as you start building your network and being active in the space in which you want to be, either by having a blog, writing articles, connecting with people, obviously studying in the same major, this will all have very long-term benefit.
Thank you, Paula. Aziz.
And I totally agree with my friends. The last things, I studied mathematics in Middle East Technical University, and I had nothing to do with real life back then. We were doing something different, but you are here. You are here to discover, and please never give up. This is the only thing that I can say.
Okay. Thank you very much for your valuable sharings. And now I would like to open a Q&A sessions. If you have any questions to the speakers, you can ask in Turkish or in English, okay? Any questions to the panelists? Mikrofonu verebilir miyiz acaba? Mikrofonun bir tanesini.
Merhaba. Benim sorum Aziz Bey'e. Bu günümüzdeki bankacılığın tamamen consumer'lara göre şekillendiği, tamamen değil de büyük oranda bundan bahsediyorsunuz ve gelecekte bunun nasıl şekilleneceği de yine işte customer based gibi bir durum var burada ve bunu tahmin edilemediğinden ya da buna göre şekilleneceğinden bahsediyorsunuz ya. Mesela bunu AI'ya danıştığınızda mutlaka danışmışsınızdır siz Elif Hanım. Siz ne gibi tepkiler aldınız ve en mantıklısını hangisi gibi gördünüz? Eğer bunu denediyseniz AI ne olarak görüyor geleceğin bankacılığını, bundan bahsedebilir misiniz?
Çok teşekkürler öncelikle. Çok güzel bir soru. Bankacılığın dönüşümü, burada bankacı arkadaşlarım da varsa katılacaktır diye tahmin ediyorum. Uzun zamandır aslında gündemde olan neler yapılabilmeli, neler yapılmalı diye bankanın sürekli strateji birimlerinde üzerine çalıştığı bir alan. Geçmişten günümüze finansal ürünlere bakıldığında ilk başta kullanıcıdan ziyade iç tarafın daha önemli olduğu, içeride olan servislerin dışarıya aktarıldığı ve müşterilerin de ne bulursa onu kullanabildiği bir finansal ekosistem var. eski zamanlardan bahsediyorum. Şimdi konu öyle değil. Şimdi internetin özellikle kullanılmaya başlamasından sonra kullanıcılar hizmetlere çok daha hızlı ulaşabiliyor. Her alandaki hizmetlere. Şimdi bankalarla rekabet eden bir de fintech ekosistemi var. Yani bir yerden bir yere para göndermek için birçok yolunuz var artık. Bunu bankayla yapmaya devam etmeniz için bankanın da bu şeyini, zırhını kırması ve başka şeyler yapması gerekiyor. Bütün finansal ekosistem farkında ve buna göre ilerliyor. Şimdi burada bir kırılım var. Şimdi o kırılım da aslında kullanmaktan çok da haz etmediğim inovasyon toplantılarında çok sıklıkla kullanılan Henry Ford anekdotu. İşte kullanıcıya ne istediğini sorsam daha hızlı koşan at derlerdi falan. Şimdi her ne kadar artık kullana bir hale gelse de konu biraz burada kırılıyor. Kullanıcıların ne istediğini onlar daha istemeden önce ortaya çıkarabilmek. Çünkü her ne kadar burada atlardan arabalara geçme breakthrough bir inovasyon olsa da aslında bir tane acı var, pain point var. Yani canlı yemesi gerekiyor atın. Her zaman kullanıma hazır değil. Kullanıcıyı çok görüyor vesaire. Problem. Bu problem tespiti. Bunu çözmek için başka bir şey geliyor. Şimdi her zaman bir adım önde olup problemi müşteriden alıp, müşteriyi dinleyip onun üzerine ürün geliştirmek lazım. AI konuşuyoruz bugün burada ama AI sadece tek başına, biraz önce de onu söylemeye çalıştım, her şeyin çözümü değil. İleride belki 2 sene sonra insan duygularını back office'te nasıl hissedeceğimizi konuşabiliriz. Bu olabilir yani. Çok teşekkürler.
Sanırım yok. Hepinize çok teşekkür ederim. Thank you for your participations and the
Biz teşekkür ederiz.
valuable
Sağ olun.
sharing. Sizlere de çok teşekkür ederim. Katılımınız, sabrınız, aktif olarak dinlemeniz için. Hepinize başarılar dilerim. Teşekkürler tekrar.